The winner's code, the truth no one told you about success. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to win at life while others spend years chasing a dream that never comes true? Here's the hard truth, and most people don't have the guts to tell you. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. And it's definitely not just about working hard. What separates winners from those who stay frustrated is a silent code, invisible to the naked eye, but it guides every step true winners take. Forget everything you've heard about overnight success or magic formulas. The real path takes more than effort. It takes a growth mindset, emotional discipline, and, most importantly, a purpose so strong that not even your worst days can shake it. This video is your invitation to look behind the curtain, beyond the pretty speeches and Instagram shortcuts. Here we get straight to the point. No fluff. No empty talk. Just the raw, unfiltered truth that shapes leaders, drives personal growth, and builds real resilience. Get ready, because what you're about to discover might be exactly what's missing to unlock your next level. So, are you ready to crack the code? Perspective is power. Some people spend their whole lives running like crazy, never realizing they're holding a dull axe. Ever notice that? They pour all their energy into chasing their goals, but they ignore what's really slowing them down: a tired mind, an exhausted soul. A wise lumberjack knows that stopping to sharpen the axe isn't a waste of time. It's what multiplies the results. And the same goes for anyone aiming for real leadership and personal growth. There's no point in speeding up without awareness. True emotional discipline lives in knowing when to pause, breathe, and recharge. In the world of those who chase a success mindset, rest isn't a luxury, it's a strategy. And let's be clear, I'm not talking about dropping everything and crashing on the couch. Small breaks throughout the day, introspective practices like Joe Dispenza's meditation, or even a light read on self-awareness, like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, are real ways to sharpen your most valuable tool, your mind. Growth isn't just about being productive, it's also about having clarity and emotional intelligence. Take a look at your day. How often do you allow yourself to pause? Most people get so fixated on the next goal that they forget to check the state of the mind that's supposed to get them there. And here's a big key. See your challenges not as walls blocking you, but as trails for personal growth. Resilience is born in that mental game, and only those who live with a growth mindset can truly inspire others. Transformational leadership starts with mastering yourself before trying to lead others. Working with purpose begins with working on yourself. It's like aligning the tip of the arrow before you aim. Without that, you'll never hit the target. Mental mini vacations, conscious disconnection, walks in nature, a hobby that pulls you back to yourself. These might seem simple, but they pave the way to truly breaking limits. At the end of the day, if you want to win in life, you can't neglect your internal tools. And I'm not just talking about technical skills or shiny diplomas on the wall. I'm talking about the foundation: renewed motivation, deep self-awareness, clear communication with yourself. Neglect that, and you risk chopping down the wrong tree. And let's be honest, it would be a shame to stop now, because the next step could change everything. Empowering altruism. There's a scene that sticks with anyone who studies the Navy SEALs. Soldiers at their physical and emotional limits, barely able to stand, and yet, they find the strength to help the person next to them. Sounds crazy, right? But this is the essence of the kind of altruism that builds true leaders. Leadership without empathy is just control. With empathy, it becomes inspiration. And if there's one thing teamwork teaches us, it's that breaking limits doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when we reach out to others. Picture a place where one person's success means success for everyone. That's the DNA of a solid organizational culture and the foundation of any real success mindset. Empowering others is one of the biggest acts of personal responsibility. And not by accident, it's also where real leadership development happens. Think about practical examples. Have you ever helped someone on your team without expecting anything in return? That kind of action builds a nearly invisible but incredibly strong network of trust. Emotional discipline is crucial here, too. Helping others means controlling your own discomfort and making space to see beyond your own struggles. It's stepping out of yourself and into someone else's world. This creates leaders who don't just command, they guide. And they guide not by shouting, but by being present. A simple practice: at your next team meeting, instead of pushing your opinion, ask the quietest person in the room what they think. Active listening is a small act of altruism that inspires people and boosts the personal growth of the entire team. Want to see the magic happen? Encourage an environment where teamwork is valued more than individual glory. When leaders practice real empathy, they unleash an energy that multiplies talents. It's not about collecting more medals, it's about building an army of winners beside you. And honestly, who wouldn't want to be surrounded by a team that grows together, instead of a bunch of individuals fighting for attention? This growth mindset, this genuine altruism, that's what separates average leaders from legendary ones. And here's the funny thing. Sometimes, it's exactly when you think you've hit your limit that you find the strength to help someone else. But of course, this isn't the only essential skill for anyone who wants to inspire people and build a legacy. The leader who listens. There's a silent, powerful lesson that Nelson Mandela lived by. Be the last to speak. Know why? Because those who listen more lead better. Most people talk too much and listen too little, and that's exactly where the difference lies between an average boss and a true leader. In a world where everyone's trying to be right, having the emotional discipline to stay quiet and really listen is almost a superpower. That's where leadership grows, where emotional intelligence shines, and where real communication comes to life. Picture this, a meeting where instead of jumping in with your opinions, you just observe. You notice the gestures, the silences, the unspoken words. This simple practice, listening before speaking, builds not just empathy, but also self-awareness. And if you think about it, it's almost a shortcut to personal growth. While everyone else fights for the mic, the real leader is there, soaking it all in, sharpening what really matters, their presence. Want to put this into practice? Try it at home or at work. Next time someone brings you a problem, listen all the way through without interrupting. And instead of jumping straight to a solution, ask, what do you think we could do about this? This kind of approach reinforces a culture of respect and collaboration. Without even realizing it, you'll be building the skill to inspire people, not with empty speeches, but with active listening. Leadership, purpose, and effective communication go hand in hand. And a leader who doesn't listen is like a navigator without a compass. They might sound impressive, but they have no idea where they're going. Developing the humility to really listen, even when you disagree, is what separates those who just command from those who truly lead. Think about the leaders you admire most. Chances are, they're the ones who actually made you feel heard, right? But between listening with curiosity and acting with responsibility, there's a crucial step. One that few are willing to take, but that truly separates the talkers from the transformers. Responsibility with purpose. Few people talk about this, but taking personal responsibility is the real dividing line between those who just talk and those who make things happen. Take Oliver Wendell Holmes, for example. He uncovered the ugly truth behind puerperal fever. Doctors were the cause, but no one wanted to admit it. Owning up to your mistakes takes more than humility, it takes emotional intelligence. And it's the same with leadership. If you can't face your own failures, you'll never truly inspire people. Responsibility isn't just a moral virtue, it's the foundation of personal growth. Now think about it. How often do you see people blaming others? The boss, the government, the economy. But what if instead, we took control of our own story? When you internalize a growth mindset, failures become stepping stones. Here's a practical tip. Keep a journal of mistakes and lessons learned. Sounds a little cushy, right? But honestly, it trains your brain to recognize patterns and adjust with emotional discipline, without falling into the trap of self-sabotage. And you know what happens when this becomes a habit? You create a culture where mistakes aren't crimes, they're opportunities to learn. Take Noah, the barista at Four Seasons. He loves what he does because he works in an environment that values people, not just results. That's leadership with purpose, building a space where people aren't afraid to try and fail. And honestly, environments like that are the perfect breeding ground for innovation and resilience. Want to bring this to your world? Start by being vulnerable. Share a real story with your team about a mistake you made and what it taught you. No sugarcoating. Just human, honest, and direct. This kind of openness builds trust and encourages others to do the same. And trust, as you've probably noticed, is the invisible glue that holds strong teams together even when the storms come. But of course, owning your mistakes is only part of the game. There's another subtle skill, often overlooked, that separates short-term leaders from lasting ones. And believe it or not, it all fits inside a simple paper cup. The humility of the paper cup. There's something symbolic about the story of that former U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense. While he was in office, he got coffee served in fine china. Once he left, it came in a paper cup. The lesson is tough but essential. The respect you get often comes from the position you hold, not from who you really are. And that's where true humility lives, the kind that builds leadership that lasts beyond titles and ego. People who understand this also realize that titles fade, but character remains. In a healthy work culture, no one cares how big your title is. What matters is how big your humanity is. Leaders who don't need fancy badges to feel important gain something much greater, the ability to truly inspire. Want a quick exercise? In your next meeting, drop the title from your name. Just John or Maria. You'd be surprised how much that shifts the dynamic. Humility and emotional discipline go hand in hand. Because let's be real, it takes serious inner strength to accept that you're just as human as anyone else on your team. And more than that, humble leaders are masters of self-awareness. They know that the journey of personal growth never ends. There's always more to learn, always room to grow. They cultivate a growth mindset that doesn't need applause to thrive. This attitude shows up in communication too. A leader who stands shoulder to shoulder with the team creates an environment of psychological safety, where people feel free to innovate, fail, and grow. A place like that doesn't need rigid formality to function. It needs empathy, personal responsibility, and above all, honesty. Simple, direct, and human, like a conversation between friends. And if you ever thought humility was a sign of weakness, think again. Because when the title fades and the badge falls, what's left is who you truly are. But before we get there, there's an even more urgent point we need to tackle. The silent and devastating impact the digital era has had on our ability to really connect. Digital empathy. We live in a time when likes seem to matter more than sincere eye contact, and where effective communication has been swapped out for constant notifications. Simon Sinek nailed it. When social media is used without emotional intelligence, it silently destroys self-esteem and relationships. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But it's the hard truth. And now more than ever, modern leadership needs to bring back real empathy, the kind you can't measure with likes. Ask yourself, how many deep conversations have you had today without a phone in the middle? Exactly. The lack of real connection is silently killing personal growth. And this isn't just old-school nostalgia, it's science. A lack of meaningful human interaction affects the brain, drains motivation, and weakens your ability to inspire others. A smart leader creates spaces where digital tools support connection, not replace it. How do you start? Simple rules: no phones in meetings, time set aside for real, face-to-face conversations, and team activities that don't involve screens. Building this emotional discipline to disconnect from the virtual and dive into the real is a huge advantage nowadays. Some of the best modern leadership development programs have already banned screens from in-person trainings. The focus shifts back to what really matters: human beings. Practicing empathy in real life means swapping emojis for real facial expressions, trading stories on Instagram for stories told out loud. Of course, building this growth mindset isn't a one-day thing. It takes small daily actions. Having lunch without your phone on the table, taking a walk and looking at the sky instead of a screen. It's about remembering that purpose without people is meaningless. Real resilience is born from real relationships, not from your social feed. The good news is, the choice is in your hands, literally. You can either swipe the screen or reach out a hand. But this is just the beginning, because understanding the truth behind success is a game few have the courage to play. Now that you have these truths in your hands, there's only one question left. What are you going to do with them? Will you let this information die in theory, or will you actually put these principles into practice? Because at the end of the day, success isn't about knowing, it's about doing. How many times have you promised to change but stayed exactly where you were? Enough of that. Today is the day to flip the script. So tell me, which one of these actions are you going to start working on today? Will it be developing emotional discipline? Maybe learning to listen more? Practicing personal responsibility? Or disconnecting a little to reconnect for real? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what really resonated with you. And hey, if this content sparked something in you, Just imagine what's still to come. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join us on this journey of real leadership and personal growth. Because let's face it, lampposts stay in place, but you were born to inspire and lead by example.